Nikkei Asia News Roundup
with Jada and Brian. Welcome to the Nikkei Asia News Roundup with your hosts Jada and Brian,
bringing you the latest updates and insights on the dynamic world of Asia and more.
Now let's delve into the headlines. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.
Nepal's tourism industry has been thrown into turmoil by youth-led protests that erupted just as the country was preparing to welcome tens of thousands of visitors for the autumn trekking season. The 2 days of deadly demonstrations in September caused losses of about 25 billion Nepali rupees, or $177 million, according to the Hotel Association of Nepal.
Nintendo has established a local entity in Singapore and is also considering doing so in Thailand, aiming to accelerate its business in Southeast Asia, according to the gaming company.
An influencer's bad review of a famous restaurant chain in China has touched off an online debate about food quality and prompted authorities to announce new rules for pre-made meals.
Myanmar's military has deployed drones, ships, and armed soldiers using motorized paragliders to safeguard the operations, output and expansion of 2 Chinese-run mines, according to local residents, as it seeks to protect one of its few lucrative sources of foreign exchange.
Nearly 98% of Japan's business leaders agree with the government's policy to expand acceptance of foreign workers, a Nikkei survey shows, with respondents highlighting how essential these employees are and the importance of helping them integrate into communities.
Indonesia's cigarette company stocks are suffering a prolonged decline as the country faces a massive tobacco surplus, a deepening economic crisis that has stumped policymakers and left growers scrambling for solutions. Now moving on to the next segment.
Thailand's political turmoil shrouds long-awaited law to tackle smog. This year's smog season in Bangkok brought about school suspensions, a work-from-home order from the city's governor, and a week of free rides on all city trains and buses aimed at keeping cars and motorcycles off the roads. After decades of worsening toxic air quality, public anger over the issue boiled over into demand for the first major legislative stab at solving the problem, Thailand's Clean Air Act. After more than a year of legal back and forth, multiple drafts have been combined into a single version of the act. While it is still unclear what practical provisions a future Clean Air Act will contain and how effective these might be, debate has centered around compensation for victims and how to make polluters pay. Still, Thai officials are optimistic that the act will make a difference. Originally, experts hoped the act would be voted on and passed into law by the end of the year, just in time for Thailand's next fiery dry season. But after a Thai court removed Paetongtarn Shinawatra as the nation's prime minister at the end of August, the future of the Clean Air Act was thrown into doubt. Now, as parties jockey for influence ahead of elections, proponents of the act fear continued political infighting will cause indefinite delays.
Exploring Mumbai's secret green oases. When most people think of Mumbai, they picture a city in constant motion, honking traffic, packed local trains, and skyscrapers towering over the Arabian Sea. But tucked away behind the chaos of urban life are pockets of wilderness that offer moments of awe and deep connection with the natural world. There you can discover sea anemones undulating in tide pools, leopards padding through city forests, and flamingos turning creeks into seas of pink. Unseen by the thousands who walk Mumbai's beaches each day, the city's shoreline harbors an extraordinary diversity of marine life. From prickly sea urchins and honeycomb moray eels to hermit crabs and coral colonies, these intertidal zones offer a glimpse into a world both fragile and resilient, surviving despite pollution, sewage runoff, and rampant construction. This is where Marine Life of Mumbai comes in. Launched in 2017, this citizen science initiative is on a mission to reveal the magic of Mumbai's marine biodiversity. During guided shore walks at low tide, participants can explore everything from muddy mangroves to rocky coastal outcrops.
And now for news highlights. In this episode, Jada and I have a discussion about a recent article that has particularly captured our attention.
And today we'd like to talk about the ASEAN region's decarbonization drive and power grid dream.
It doesn't sound that exciting when no matter how you phrase it, but it is interesting that one of the fun facts, you might say, is that 90% of the region's energy mix right now is from fossil fuels, and they want to change that.
Yes.
And they've been wanting to change that for quite a while now. It's been taking decades, but now it looks like it might finally be gaining momentum.
And that one of the reasons why momentum is starting to pick up is because one of an important onshore wind farm has started to run.
Yeah, there's the fun fact. Did you know that the Southeast Asia's largest onshore wind farm is in the highlands of southern Laos?
Yes. Because I think I mentioned this a few podcasts ago, but it's called the Monsoon Wind Power Project. And it's run by a consortium.
A Thai-led consortium.
Thai-led.
But
a lot of other countries are also joining in, right?
Contributions from Japan's Mitsubishi. It's built by China Power Construction, but also known as Power China, and it sends energy to Vietnam.
Yeah. It says the project has installed capacity of 600 megawatts, and it sends electricity 27 kilometers to Vietnam. Yeah, so it's this sort of a cross-border effort. Project.
It seemed as part of the inspiration for what a lot of people in the region are working on, what they're calling a super grid, the ASEAN power grid.
And it's been in the making for a long time, like multiple decades.
And there's a lot of different reasons why it hasn't been gaining more momentum in the past few decades. There can be differences in governments, differences in policies, and who's going to do what. One of the ones I found interesting is that there's not enough unifying technologies, like different grid systems, different power levels, and they're trying to get those together. Because one of the big pushes of getting getting more power, not just clean power, but more power, is that a lot of economies in the region want to lure in high generating, business-wise investments, and that is data centers, semiconductor producers, and all of those are power-hungry industries.
And I think one of the other thing mentioned in the story is that the biggest impediment to this sort of energy integration is the lack of political will to drive this dream, but it's saying that it is starting to pick up, especially with Malaysia becoming the chair of the ASEAN summit this year. And Malaysia is also known as sort of trying to build a semiconductor hub. So I think that sort of connects to its efforts or push to wanting to have this happen, because it's trying to lure more semiconductor companies, build cities around it, and data centers.
Yeah, they're really pushing this ASEAN summit, which is later this month.
Late
and there's
October.
A lot of meetings planned around that, and this is one of the big goals, it seems, for a lot of people involved in it. They want to really lock in these investments and planning and get people to commit to this.
And actually, like, investment in ASEAN, the renewable sector has grown because foreign investors, foreign partners are sort of eyeing this opportunity in the region and is seeing the momentum pick up. Because I think in the story, it says the investment in ASEAN renewables has grown by 15% annually since 2020, and it's reached $43 billion in 2022.
And that growth is more than most regions, right? That pace of growth. So
Yeah, and China remains the biggest investor at the moment, seems like. But Japan, South Korea, and other big economies in the region are also contributing.
And this is an important area for this kind of investment because
Yes. Yeah, the story has some data on that as well. In Southeast Asia, the region is on a path to account for a quarter of global energy demand growth through 2035. So that's second to India. And also, the regional energy demand is expected to surpass that of the EU by mid-century. And a lot of countries have a net zero target, so they're working hard to achieve that.
And I mentioned earlier about how the different standards and how it's difficult to get it together. There's a nice little catchphrase. One of the people working with Sarawak Energy, and he says, "There will be no transition without transmission."
Oh.
As in, it's a nice way to look at that if you want to keep the momentum going that they're building up right now.
And that brings us to the close of today's episode.
We look forward to having you join up again for the next edition of the Nikkei Asia News Roundup.
Stay informed, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Jada.
And I'm Brian. See you again, and take care. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.